There's a strange thing that happens as we get older. We start to notice the patterns. Not just in the world, like the way the seasons shift or how the body aches more after certain chores. No, I'm talking about the inner patterns, the conversations that seem to repeat themselves, the kinds of people we draw into our lives over and over, the lessons we thought we learned, until they show up again in new clothes. You ever ask yourself, why does this keep happening to me? I have. Plenty of times. And for a while, I chalked it up to life just being messy. But after enough cycles, after enough quiet mornings, sitting just like this, I began to suspect that maybe the mess was trying to teach me something. That maybe it was me who kept showing up in my own story, asking for another chance to get it right. We've all heard the word karma. In the West, it's usually tossed around like a cosmic boomerang. What goes around comes around. But in Buddhist teachings, karma isn't about revenge or cosmic punishment. It's about cause and effect. Karma means action, and every action, every thought, every word, every choice sends out a ripple. That ripple doesn't disappear. It shapes what comes next. Sometimes that ripple travels across lifetimes. Sometimes it just loops back to us in a few months or a few years. But here's the part that hit me hardest. Karma isn't something that happens to you. It's something you're co-creating, moment by moment. You're not just the passenger in this life. You're part of the steering mechanism. That doesn't mean everything is your fault, but it does mean you have more power than you might think. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, so we bury them. But just like karma, those shadows don't disappear. They act out through our choices, our relationships, our fears. Karma and shadow are two sides of the same truth. Until you become aware of your patterns, they will keep repeating. And the deeper you go into awareness, the freer you become. In some schools of Buddhist and Eastern thought, it's said that your soul chooses the moment of your birth. Not randomly, not by accident, but with intent. That moment, the place, the date, the environment you're born into, carries an energetic signature. It reflects the lessons your soul came here to work through. And within that signature is something known as your karmic number. It's like a fingerprint, not of your body, but of your spirit. Now, before you start imagining something mystical and unreachable, let me say this. You don't need to believe in reincarnation to find value in this. You just need to be willing to look at your life with fresh eyes, to ask, what keeps showing up? What am I being asked to learn? Because whether or not you believe in past lives, the patterns are still there. And your birth date, the numbers in it, might hold some surprising clues. Let's keep this simple. You take your birth date, day, month, and year, and add all the digits together. Then, you reduce that number down until you get a single digit between 1 and 9. Here's how it works. Let's say you were born on July 6th, 1954. That's 07 plus 06 plus 1954. Now break it down, digit by digit. 0 plus 7 plus 0 plus 6 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 4 equals 32. Then 3 plus 2 equals 5. So your karmic number is 5. One more example. November 22nd, 1968. That's 11 plus 22 plus 1968. Break it down. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 8 equals 30. Then 3 plus 0 equals 3. Karmic number 3. Some people may end up with a total like 11, 22, or 33. Those are called master numbers in numerology and can be explored more deeply if you're curious. But for most of us, we're working with 1 through 9. Think of it like tuning into a frequency. Your number gives you a window into your soul's curriculum. If your number is 1, your soul is learning how to stand tall in your own identity. In past lives, or perhaps earlier in this one, you may have dimmed your light to fit in. You may have struggled with independence or relied too much on others for validation. The lesson here is about trusting yourself, learning to speak your truth, owning your place in the world. But it's not always easy. The shadow side of 1 is isolation, arrogance, or feeling like you have to prove your worth by doing everything alone. The Buddhist teacher Jack Cornfield often says, part of spiritual maturity is learning to be at home in your own heart. And that's the work of the what, not dominating others, but leading with quiet confidence. Ask yourself, where have I been hiding my voice? What would it look like to lead with humility? If your number is 2, you're learning the delicate dance of connection and balance. You may have a natural gift for empathy. You sense what others feel, even before they say a word. But here's the catch. You might lose yourself in the process, overgiving, over-apologizing, keeping the peace at the cost of your truth. Your karma is to discover that vulnerability is not weakness, that real strength lives in mutual respect and emotional honesty. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master, once said, "When another person makes you suffer, it is because he suffers deeply within himself. He does not need punishment, he needs help." As a 2, your compassion is a gift, but your lesson is learning to include yourself in that circle of care. Ask yourself, do I speak up for my needs? Do I give from a place of wholeness or depletion? If your number is 3, your soul came here to explore the power of expression. You might be naturally gifted. Words, music, art, humor. You're the storyteller, the heart opener, the one who sees beauty where others miss it. But here's the trap. You might struggle to finish what you start. Self-doubt creeps in, or you bounce from one idea to the next, afraid to fully commit. The karma of the 3 is learning to ground your gifts, to move past the fear of criticism or failure, and create anyway. Author Elizabeth Gilbert once wrote, "Perfectionism is just fear in fancy shoes." And that's the work here, letting go of the need to be flawless and embracing the messy joy of being authentically you. Ask yourself, where am I silencing my creativity? What would it feel like to trust the process, not just the outcome? If your number is 4, your journey is about building strong foundations, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You likely value hard work, structure, and responsibility. You get things done. People rely on you. But your karmic challenge? Rigidity, control, holding so tightly to the rules that you leave no room for life to breathe. This number teaches you that discipline without compassion becomes a prison, and that the strongest trees are the ones that can bend with the wind. In Taoist philosophy, there's a saying, be like water, flow, adapt, shape, but endure. As a 4, your work is to bring order without obsession, and to trust that not everything has to be built brick by brick. Ask yourself, where am I over-controlling? What could I release without losing what matters? If your number is 5, your soul longs for freedom. You're curious, energetic, drawn to new experiences and ideas. You hate being boxed in. But the lesson of 5 is this: freedom without grounding leads to chaos. You may jump ship too soon, leave before the growth happens. Avoid discomfort in the name of movement. Your karma is to discover that freedom isn't about escaping life. It's about showing up fully for it. Zen teacher Charlotte Joko Beck wrote, "Joy is not the absence of discomfort, it's the presence of wholeheartedness." So instead of running from your life, 5 asks you to run toward it, with presence, not avoidance. Ask yourself, am I staying present with what's hard? What would true freedom look like, not just for my body, but for my heart? If your number is 6, you're a caretaker. You feel called to serve, support, and uplift. You might be the one people always turn to, the rock, the giver. But behind that generosity, there can be a cost. 6s often struggle with boundaries. They give until they're empty, and then resent the very people they wanted to help. Your karma is to learn that service without self-love becomes self-erasure. In Buddhism, the concept of metta, loving kindness, begins with yourself. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. As author Audre Lorde said, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation." So as a 6, your work is to include yourself in the love you give so freely to others. Ask yourself, where am I abandoning myself in the name of being good? How would it feel to receive what I so easily give? If your number is 7, you're the seeker. You ask the big questions. Why are we here? What is truth? What lies beneath the surface? You may be drawn to philosophy, spirituality, science, mysticism, but here's the trap: overthinking, withdrawal, analysis paralysis. Your karma is to live your truth, not just study it. To stop standing outside life with a clipboard and step into the dance. The Buddha said, no matter how many words you read, they won't bring you peace until you live them. As a 7, you're here to bridge the worlds. Wisdom and action, mind and heart. Ask yourself, am I using knowledge to hide from experience? Where can I trust life more, even without all the answers? If your number is 8, you're working through karma around power, money, and influence. You have drive, vision, leadership potential. You can build empires, big or small, but 8s often wrestle with control, materialism, or fear of loss. The spiritual lesson here is that true power is not about control, it's about stewardship. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us, you have a right to your actions, but not to the fruits of your actions. As an 8, you're asked to wield your gifts ethically, to remember that what you build is not just for you, but for the healing of others. Ask yourself, am I building from fear or from vision? Who benefits from the power I hold? If your number is 9, you're completing a cycle. You've carried a lot, emotionally, spiritually, maybe even generationally. Your soul's lesson is compassion and release, letting go of what no longer serves you while keeping your heart open. 9s often feel deeply. You might be a healer, a guide, a soft place for others to land. But the shadow of 9, martyrdom, over-responsibility, living in the past. Your karma is to practice loving detachment, to serve without being consumed, to forgive, not because others deserve it, but because you do. As Buddhist nun Pema Chodron teaches, Only to the extent that we expose ourselves to annihilation can that which is indestructible in us be found. You are that indestructible force, and your work is to let go, not by forgetting, but by understanding. Ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer belongs to me? What would it look like to bless the past and walk forward with grace? There's a strange comfort in familiarity, even when it hurts. You find yourself in the same argument, but with a different face. The same job tension, but with a new boss. The same ache in your chest, even though decades have passed. And if you're like me, at some point you ask the question, why does this keep happening? That's the moment karma begins to reveal itself. Because karma doesn't always come with thunder and lightning. More often, it arrives in whispers, in déjà vu, in that quiet sense of, haven't I been here before? Patterns aren't punishments. They're unfinished stories, waiting for a new ending. In therapy, they call it repetition compulsion, a tendency to recreate situations from the past in the hope that this time the outcome will be different. In Buddhism, it's viewed through the lens of karma, actions and attachments repeating until they're met with full awareness. And in either case, the message is the same. You will relive the lesson until you learn it. And once you do, the cycle ends. Or as one Zen proverb says, when the lesson is understood, the teacher disappears. Some of our patterns don't start with us. We carry the imprints of our families, beliefs, wounds, silences. We inherit more than eye color or posture. If your mother never trusted anyone, if your father measured worth in work alone, that energy doesn't vanish, it travels. Psychologists call it intergenerational trauma. Spiritual teachers call it ancestral karma. Whatever the name, the truth is this. You may be the first one in your lineage to pause and say, this pattern stops with me, and that is no small act. That is sacred work. You are not just healing your story, you are healing your family's past and your children's future. So how do you know if you're in a karmic loop? Start by asking these questions. Do I keep attracting the same kind of pain, despite changing people or places? Is there a life theme that feels unsolved or incomplete? Do I feel stuck in a pattern that feels older than this moment? These are not easy questions, but they're doorways. Doorways into deeper understanding. Doorways out of the cycle. Because once a pattern is seen clearly, it begins to lose its power. Karma repeats what remains unconscious. But awareness? Awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you see the pattern, when you name it, when you stop blaming others for what keeps showing up, you take back your power. As Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. That's the sacred pivot, from reaction to response, from automatic to intentional. And that's where the shift begins. It's one thing to recognize the pattern. It's another to change it. Old habits don't dissolve with insight alone. They've been built over years, sometimes generations, but they can be undone. And it begins with one powerful truth. What is seen can be healed. Karma is not a curse, it's a teacher. And when we stop running from it, we finally start learning. When I first started meditating, I thought I was doing it wrong. My thoughts were loud. My body itched. The silence felt too quiet. But over time, I learned something profound. Meditation isn't about becoming empty. It's about becoming honest. You start to see the stories you tell yourself, the fears you didn't know were still there, the patterns playing in the background. And once you see them, you don't have to be ruled by them. As Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it." When we meditate, we break the automatic loop. We learn to respond, not react. And in that space, just a breath wide, is freedom. There's something sacred about putting pen to paper. Journaling isn't just about documenting your day. It's about witnessing yourself. It's a conversation between you and the parts of you that don't usually speak up. Here are a few prompts that have helped me break old cycles. When was the first time I felt this way? Whose voice is this really? What would I say if I wasn't afraid? Some days, the pages come easy. Other days, it's one sentence and a tear. Both are valid. Both are healing. There's a Hawaiian practice I came across years ago. It's called Ho'oponopono, and it changed the way I understood forgiveness. It's 4 simple phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You can say them to others. You can say them to yourself. You can say them to memories, to moments, to younger versions of who you used to be. It's not about assigning blame. It's about clearing the residue that karma leaves behind. I've whispered these words to photographs, to my reflection, to old emails I never sent. And something always softens. Forgiveness, it turns out, is one of the most radical ways to break a pattern. The final piece of this puzzle, action. It's not enough to understand karma. You must live differently, and sometimes the smallest actions carry the biggest impact. You don't need to rewrite your whole life overnight. You just need to choose love. Where fear used to speak, to tell the truth. Where silence used to win, to stay open when everything in you wants to close. As the Dalai Lama said, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. Every moment becomes a choice. Every choice, a new path. And slowly, gently, the cycle shifts. When I was younger, I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted. No rules, no strings, no explanations. But now, after 6 decades of living, losing, loving, learning, I see it differently. Real freedom isn't about escape. It's about awareness. It's about seeing yourself clearly, without shame. It's about recognizing the patterns, not as failures, but as teachers. It's about tracing the thread of your own story and saying, now I understand. You don't let go of the past by pretending it didn't happen. You let go by looking it square in the eye. You name what hurt. You honor what it taught you. You stop expecting it to be different and start letting it be complete. There are things I used to carry like stones in my chest. Regrets, words unsaid, versions of me I wished I could erase. But with time and gentleness, I realized I didn't need to erase them. I just needed to understand them. Understand why I did what I did, why I stayed silent, why I chose the paths I did. And in that understanding, the weight began to lift. Every choice we make becomes part of the soil we grow in, even the ones we regret, even the ones that hurt. Karma isn't a punishment, it's a reflection, a map. And when we learn to read it with kindness, we find that nothing was wasted. That old heartbreak, it taught you compassion. That mistake you made, it gave you humility. That long, winding road, it brought you here, to this moment, this breath, this awareness. And from here, you can choose something new. I don't need to go back and change my story. I just need to understand it, bless it, and walk forward with a lighter step. That's what awareness does. It doesn't erase the past, it illuminates it. And in that light, forgiveness becomes possible. Grace becomes possible. You begin to see yourself not as broken, but as becoming. So maybe your number is 1, learning to trust yourself. Or 6, trying to serve without disappearing. Or 9, finally releasing what you've held for far too long. Whatever your path, remember this: you are not late, you are not lost, you are not broken, you are learning. And in that learning, there is great beauty and deep, deep freedom. If you feel called to share, I'd love to know. What's your karmic number? What has it helped you see? Let's talk in the comments. Let's hold space for each other. Because this work, this soul work, it's tender, but it's worth it. And none of us are doing it alone. Thanks for walking this path with me. Until next time, take care of your heart and take it with you wherever you go.